Oh, see, you get me every time. Welcome, everyone. Regular meeting of council, Tuesday, November 26th. Land acknowledgement. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca, Kappa, and Silk people. Late items. Any late items? No late items. We're good. Public input. No public input. Thank you. Adoption of minutes. 4.1 regular council meeting minutes, November 12th, 2024. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting be held on November 12th, 2024 be adopted. Hold on before you do that. And we need to amend that as well. Council meetings from November the 12th, there was a typographical error in the agenda for the item 8.2, which listed the wrong bylaw number. The right bylaw number is included in the package and was considered by council. So the other thing that I'm going to move is that the regular council meeting minutes of November 12th, 2024 be amended by replacing 2370 with 2379 in the resolution of items 8.2. The resolution should read that council adopts City of Merritt 2024-2028 financial plan amendment bylaw number 2379-2024. And can I have a mover and a seconder for, oh, I've done something wrong.
Thank you, Your Worship. If we can have a mover and a seconder for the minutes first.
Okay.
And then if we can have a mover and a seconder for the amendment,
okay.
We'll vote on the amendment and then we'll vote on the minutes as amended.
Okay. Mover and seconder for the, thank you, Councillor Ogan, Councillor Baxter, on the recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting be held on November 12th, 2024 be adopted. Any errors or omissions? And I'm afraid I'm going to have to give you a mark that you didn't catch that error. So Wednesday, put that in the book. Wendy missed it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh.
I was just saying I had an amendment that I already mentioned to the CO about AGM and notes.
Perfect. So we've got a mover and a seconder for the minutes.
Yes.
And then we're going to amend the minutes. So we're going to amend the minutes as Councillor Etchart is noting, as well as to change 2370 to 2379.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Councillor Etchart, you are wishing to have the minutes amended to include in your council notes for your council reports that you attended Phelan House and the museum
AGM.
AGM?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a mover do we have a mover and a seconder for the amendment?
There we go.
Okay, perfect. And then we will vote on the amendment.
All those in favor? Oh.
Aye.
And then we will vote on the minutes as amended.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you
Awesome.
for straightening
Thank
that
you,
all
Your
out.
Worship.
I knew that was going to screw that up, so thank you. Councillor Egan, nice to see you. She is online.
Yes, thank you. Nice to be here.
You betcha. So just speak out if you need anything. Because sometimes I don't look up. Sorry.
I'll just say a yay or nay.
Good. General matters. 5.1 Enbridge presentation by Ms. Jennifer Prochira. Am I saying that right? Prochira. Not my night for getting stuff right. So I'll get you to come up. Good to see you from UBCM again. I'll get you to push the button in front of you. Yeah.
Sorry, just before Mr. Chair starts, just want to remind delegates that it's 10 minutes for a delegation in order to keep the agenda moving, so that council has sufficient time after to ask clarifying questions.
Sure. Thank you.
Hear me okay?
You bet.
I think so. Thanks for having me, Mayor, Council, and community members. My name is Jennifer Prochira. I'm a Community and Indigenous Engagement Advisor with Enbridge, and I'm here to give an update on our Sunrise Expansion Program. Thank you for maybe next slide. I'm supposed to be.
Excuse me. Can I interrupt for a second? I can't see what's going on. Just says City of Merritt. It's blank.
Okay, hold on a sec. We'll get you hooked up here. Oh. I think we're having technical problems, Councillor Egan. I'm not sure you'll be able to see it. We'll see.
Okay, well, I did watch the video earlier. It was really good.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. We are having some technical difficulties tonight. A, the timer is not working. B, the video camera is not working. So people may see a black screen, but I am going to share the screen here with the presentation. I don't know if it will show, but we will try and see if it shows.
Thank you.
So this is quickly go through this. So this is our natural gas refinery on with the west.
Oh, sorry.
Am I good?
Okay.
Oh, there we go. It's either called the West Coast System or BC Pipeline System. It's approximately 2,900 kilometers long, goes from Fort Nelson into the Alberta border and into the Huntington-Sumas border and into the Pacific Northwest. It's been operating for almost 70 years, and in there's two pipelines. One is a 30-inch, one is a 36-inch. So I wanted to these are just strictly stats from 2023 that how Enbridge has contributed to the province. So 224 workers we've had, whether they're permanent or contract. We paid more than $23.7 million in wages to those people. And then also paid $72.9 million in property taxes. And that's where we have our pipelines crossing property or compressor sites. This is more strictly for the regional district. So more than $6 million paid to the Thompson-Nicola Regional District in 2023. So these are local community benefits, also kind of lumped in with the regional district, but $93,000 paid out specific there, Merritt Fire Department. And I guess I just also wanted to put out the request for anything else you guys could see us supporting next year. We'd love to come out and do volunteer opportunities. So keep us in mind, and I can feed back some information on how to apply for funding if you like.
Absolutely.
Video. This is good. I probably didn't even need to talk today. It's so good.
For almost 70 years, the West Coast or BC Pipeline System has been transporting safe, reliable, and affordable natural gas for markets throughout British Columbia, Alberta, and the US Pacific Northwest. This natural gas is used to feed our homes, schools, and businesses, and in many industrial and manufacturing processes that produce hundreds of products that improve our lives. To meet the demand for natural gas across the region, West Coast has submitted an application to the Canada Energy Regulator, or CER, for approval to expand the southern portion of the BC pipeline system. The Sunrise Expansion Program includes installation of pipeline units and additional compressor units at existing compressor stations, with some units powered by electricity. In the application, we have described steps we're taking to work with Indigenous groups and ensure we're protecting the environment and the people, maximizing benefits and inclusion of local and Indigenous groups, while mitigating potential effects on the environment and communities. If approved, the project will employ up to 2,500 workers during the peak construction period. These workers will be supporting local businesses, and the work will provide opportunities for local communities. Corporate and property taxes will also be paid to municipalities as well as provincial and federal governments. These tax dollars can help to pay for schools, hospitals, roads, and other public infrastructure. In total, this project will create economic growth of more than $3 billion over a period of 35 years. But before that, the project must undergo a regulatory approval process. Since early 2023, the project has been conducting studies and engaging Indigenous groups, governments, landowners, and other stakeholders to help develop the application. After the project application is filed, and once the CER provides a completeness determination, the regulators will issue a public hearing order and kickstart the regulatory review timeline. This hearing order will include key dates and steps for the public hearing process. The public hearing is an opportunity for interested people to be part of the regulatory process. Once a public hearing is complete and all views have been considered, the CER will make a recommendation to the governor and council regarding whether the project is in the public interest and should proceed, and if so, on what conditions. If the governor and council agrees, it will direct the CER to issue a certificate for the project. That means the project is approved. Then, construction can begin once West Coast has satisfied any necessary conditions. West Coast anticipates construction to start as early as the second quarter of 2026, with the project fully operating by the end of 2028. We're happy to answer any questions you might have about the project or the regulatory process. For more information about the project or to contact us, please visit enbridge.com/sunrise.
Okay, so the Sunrise Expansion Program. So that is to increase the capacity of the existing pipeline. It's going to be approximately 137 kilometers of pipeline looping, but that's over 11 segments, right kind of from the Pine Pass down. And then also, and that's going to be 42-inch lines, so bigger than we currently have in the ground. And then there'll also be four new compressor stations composed on existing sites that are already there. And your closest ones will be Kingsville. And then also we're looking to electrify 3 of those 4 compressor sites. So those are kind of the components. Maybe the next slide. Let's quickly flip through these. So we already talked about this. So like I said, the pipeline, and then it'll be approximately 34 kilometers of overhead power lines would be required to electrify. Said all that. So Kingsville. And so this is the proposed scope near Merritt. And I know probably most of you have seen this. I guess what I want to start with is we're looking to kind of refine this scope. We've been working really closely with Indigenous nations, stakeholders, doing field studies to kind of feed the design of the project. And it looks like we're possibly looking for alternate routes for that power line. And that power line is about 20 kilometers long. So we'd either be looking for alternate routes for that, or we'd be looking to do just a gas compression feed to that compressor. So we wouldn't need the power line if that was to happen, but we're looking at all different kind of scenarios right now. So this is kind of one I really wanted to discuss with you because this is something that's also really new. It's not new, but the socioeconomic kind of feedback. So we've been asking for information from communities, stakeholders, whoever would love to share kind of information on communities with us. So what we're doing is we're gathering information to feed a socioeconomic effects management plan, so a SEEP, and I'm sure if you've been part of any major projects with the CER, that's kind of always a condition. And so we're working with communities right now to understand those socioeconomic impacts that could come from a community or from a project, whether it's positive or negative. So what we've started, and we've only done one of them, is we're doing a series of what we call roundtables, and kind of really fun talking to the communities, getting a different group. So it would be municipalities. We're bringing in kind of some emergency responders, people that work in the housing industry, and trying to kind of figure out, what it could look like as far as mitigations on any concerns. So we're starting those now. We started in the Fraser Valley area, so we'll likely kind of reach out to Merritt next year and kind of just sit down to really understand and identify any concerns. I heard some at UBCM, we talked about housing issues, especially around, because there was the flooding. We talked about emergency response and hospitals, because I think that's a major one for most communities in BC right now, and what would happen if there was an incident. So we're trying to flesh that out a little bit more. So hoping that we'll get some participation when we come to you, and we'll make sure to reach out prior just to see if there's interested to sharing that with us. So we talked about, this was in the video. I think the only thing I want to add to this is we did receive what they call, what do they call it? We were completeness determinations. So we had applied in May 30th of this year, and they finally said, yes, your application's good. And so now it kicks off a 450-day timeline for review. So that's where you get kind of that public feedback. And they do really cool things, like they do Indigenous oral knowledge sessions. So they'll work with each of the communities to have elders come out who want to share kind of how they're feeling about things and what they remember from the past. So that's exciting. These application links are in the presentation, and they're on enbridge.com/sunrise. So that's their fact sheets, the video, all of that can be accessed on the website. How did I do? 10 minutes? Oh, oh good. Questions?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Just a couple questions for myself. On your one slide, it says West Coast would like to identify a contact within your municipal government to discuss the community's unique needs and potential socioeconomic effects. When we're talking about, is that like a member of council or somebody from the community?
I've been kind of reaching out to either Chamber of Commerce or CAOs just to see and get feedback, kind of using what we know to create a list, but also having it reviewed to add people or, that might be relevant. But it's been pretty interesting because we've had like people that own hotels, we've had the Salvation Army, we've had just kind of every group possible to give really good feedback into that social stuff.
Councillor Richard. Girl.
Oh, no, it was a really good presentation. And actually, I wasn't sure that I hit the button. So I was just saying, I'm really excited about the project, and we had seen you at UBCM and gotten a lot of the similar information. This is just a more detailed piece. So I just want to say, I hope that the CER approves everything and it takes off.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
I think the other thing too, if I can add just something really quick, I did mention that we're looking at refining the scope a bit. And as soon as that's done, we'll definitely be coming back to you and letting you know what that's going to look like.
Councillor Rogan.
Thank you. So you mentioned some roundtable discussions that you had. So when was the last roundtable specifically for Merritt?
We've never done one with Merritt. So this is a new process. We just started. November 13th was the first one, and it was Hope. We're meeting with the District of Kent on the 9th, Chilliwack on the 17th, Abbotsford on the 18th, and then we'll break for Christmas, and then we'll come back to other communities and get
so
the data we're looking for.
I'd be interested to hearing the feedback, specifically when we talk about socioeconomic concerns, but also environmental concerns. So I want to know what the community has to say about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. If when this process happens, we send back a summary and it won't be just a one-time thing. Like once we kind of go through that initial process, it's like a World Cafe type process, and then we'll provide the information back, and then we'll carry on and see what else we can do together.
And last question. So you mentioned the compression station. So how many are we talking about? And you said that some of them will be electrified, not
Yeah.
everyone.
So there's 4 of them. So they start, one's in the Pine Pass, it's compressor station 2B. And then we've got one 6A, 8A and 8B, I believe. And the 3 southern ones are looked to be electrical driven. So the one in the Pine Pass won't be, it'll be gas drive.
Councillor Baxter.
Have you talked to the Ministry of Transport, like having the electrical line right beside the highway?
Yes. I personally haven't, but we do have the groups that are doing that. And so that would be some of the feedback we've heard where we're looking to refine the scope. Once you look at that, sometimes it doesn't always work. When you get on the land and you start doing studies, and maybe it's just not the right spot for it. So that's what we're working on right now.
Councillor Cherney.
I'd like to go further on Councillor Baxter's remarks. That question was asked at UBCM, and we were told that you'd be using existing power lines.
Well, we would be using existing right of ways, whether it's in a road right of way, a power line right of way. We're not sure yet. And I think that could change right now at any time. So we'll definitely keep you updated, and we'll have more information on that. But yeah, that is the idea. Like it would follow existing disturbance for sure. Like that's the whole plan. So.
Okay, I have always from day one had a concern about the power line, that the original map, it doesn't bypass Merritt. It kind of comes in through Lower Nicola towards Merritt. And that was my concern there. Yes, there are power lines there and they are existing power lines, but if you're going to be putting up more power lines, large power lines, that's going to be a great impact.
It's definitely feedback we've heard. Absolutely. We've heard it from you yourself as well as other stakeholders. So
yeah. So you don't have a definite on.
So I think when when we talk about kind of refining the scope, it's concerns like that we're hearing, and we might have to do something a little bit different.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you made this presentation to the TNRD or the regional districts, considering this is where most of the
We
lines will come
not
through?
on this scope refinement. We haven't yet. But we will. And I think once we have a little bit more information on it, what it's going to look like.
CAO?
I just wanted to remind our delegate that we had talked at UBCM potentially about council having an opportunity to go visit an archaeological site that was discovered on the original proposed path.
Yes.
Just to get a sense of what that might look like.
I actually read those notes today. And when I speak about working in the field and talking to nations and some of the things we've heard. That's exciting, but also could impact the scope of the project for sure. Yeah, okay. Noted again.
Thank you. Councillor Egan, anything?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for coming and
thank you. Thanks for having me.
presenting and seeing us at UBCM. It was enjoyable. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Well,
Thank you. I'll get you to hit that little button there and get you to kill the mic. Thank you very much. Okay, 5.2, Walk of Stars Design Concept, presentation by Mr. Chris Langhow. You're up, Mr. Langhow. I'll get you to push the button there, Chris, when you get up there. Good to see you again.
Likewise, your worship, council, staff. Yes. My name's Chris Langhaug. I'm wearing my Walk of Stars hat tonight. Just a brief presentation that we've been working on for a little while. We still have some funds left in our latest grant that we were able to receive. Part of that grant was intended to clean up the stars in the downtown area, which we've already accomplished that part of it. A further interest that we have would be to place a structure similar to our digital sign structure up at Gasoline Alley on the Wolf Way. In fact, it would be an identical structure to that, except the structure would house 10 stars on each side, so a total of 20 stars. The intent would be to place that on the roundabout circle right up at Gasoline Alley there. Excuse me. Which would be, I think there's 3 picnic tables there now, so we would take the center picnic table and move it to the side a bit at our cost, and erect this new structure on that site. The intent is to have QR codes on each of the stars, but also a main QR code that would direct visitors to Gasoline Alley that just sort of stop in and carry on, come downtown and complete the actual star walk downtown. So we're here seeking council's permission to use that site, and the same contractor that built the last structure, which turned out very nice, we thought, would build this one as well for us. It'd be identical to that. Yeah, I think that's about all. So it's about $100,000 investment for us.
So just a couple quick questions, Chris. I noticed when we talk about the sign, you're here representing Walk of Stars, but you say our sign. That sign was put up by TNV, was it not?
Sorry, it was. Yes. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
TNV sign would be TNV sign. Your sign would be Walk of Stars sign.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And the only reason I'm doing that is because we're going to get some confusion unless we
Yeah.
clarify.
No, that's you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So
TNV.
I think what we're doing here tonight is just getting the idea. I don't know if you'll actually get any kind of permission to use it. It's just the first step somewhere we can now start talking about what that's going to look like.
Sure.
And I do believe we would have to do a CO where we would be on this.
Yes, certainly there would be, this would be a disposition of public lands. So we would have to have a public hearing, as well as there would have to be, much like we did with TNV and the sign, we would want to enter into an agreement, understanding ownership and liabilities and all of those sorts of things. So there is a process, as well as then there would be the development process from planning and development services. So that would be the planning and development would be the end stage. We would have to have a land disposition agreement and use agreement, a lease, whatever the case may be, before it goes to planning and development to be able to provide the appropriate permitting.
But we would also need to see what it's going to look like, and we would need to see those plans as well.
Yes, that is
So we can get all our ducks in a
100%.
row.
We would want to see, I would recommend to council, they would want to see at least a conceptual design before it goes any further. But we would also want to see all of the technical drawings as well as part of the process for development services.
Councillor Olgan.
Thank you. So
I need more information because I remember there was a presentation done by your organization a few months ago, and it was gonna be about cluster of different stars together in different locations. So are we talking about that this is a new idea? So the cluster idea didn't go through? What's the scope here?
Yeah, this would be 25 or 20 new stars up at this location. We've got another 10 or so that we were hoping to also place at Spirit Square in an area that's suitable to council as well. We had talked about a variety of different things, and after reconsidering everything, we thought this would probably be the best use of the stars and best location. And we wanted to get the presence up at Gasoline Alley because there is a lot of traffic there, especially in the summertime and the high season, and try to drive that traffic to the downtown core.
So this new project would have no influence in the existing stars. So this existing stars would stay where they are.
Yes,
This is only for new ones.
this is only for new ones, right? Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Total of about 20 up there and about 10 or 15 at Spirit Square. If we could, that's a different conversation, but just working on this one right now.
Councillor Baxter.
And you are saying this is gonna be 100% funded by you and we will not
Yes.
cost the taxpayers any money?
Correct. Yes.
Councillor Cherney.
As the signs on city property, who resumes maintenance in the future once it's constructed?
That would be part of the agreement that the city and our group would put together. So that would remain to be seen at that time, I guess, until we get into that part of it. Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Richard. Yes.
So in the event of, say, damage from either wind or fire or vandalism, would you hold harmless the city in that kind of way? I mean, because things happen to things, people crash into items,
Yes.
there's a fire, whatever. What's the impact then? Because that's
We would maintain our own insurance policy for that sort of thing.
okay.
Similar to, I think, what TNV did on the
Yeah.
digital sign.
Because I mean, who knows? Some motorhome could take out a sign. You never know, right?
Yeah, totally.
Seen it happen at McDonald's about 3 or 4 times over the last 30 years.
So we've gone up and had a look at that quite a few times, and it doesn't get used very much. I think it would be a good spot. So I think what we need now is just your conceptual drawings on what it would look like and more information for council.
Sure.
Councillor Egan, anything from you?
No, I think as long as we go along with the same type of thing we've done with TNV, I think it's acceptable in my mind. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Petrosi.
Have you got numbers of people taking tours, like numbers over the last?
It's something we could put together. I don't have it in my head.
Just wondering about country music, the popularity. Is it kind of a lot of new stars out? Like you're saying, there are going to be 20 modern stars up there that.
It'll be different stars than what we have. We have, we had a number of stars collected over the years that we hadn't been able to put out.
Oh,
I think there's about 70 plus or minus that are out around the town now. Country music is always changing. There's always new artists, and so we're still trying to obtain new star handprints and that sort of thing as well. Yeah, as well as the other ones that we have.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Great.
And,
Thank you very much.
When you get those conceptual drawings, get it to us ASAP so we can get more information.
We will. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
7.1 bylaws. OCP amendment bylaw number 2383-2024 and zoning amendment bylaw numbers 2384-2024. So we have a recommendation that council gives first reading to the official community plan amendment bylaw number 2383-2024.
I'll move that.
Councillor Egan, Councillor Baxter, any questions on this? Did you have the opportunity to go? Councillor Charney.
The Lower Nickel Indian Band has indicated that it's a high archaeological potential. Has this been addressed? Is there any new developments on this?
CAO?
So doing an archaeological study would be the requirements made of the owner of the property before they could do any further development. So the rezoning rezoning it doesn't make them not liable to get that done. They still have to get all that work done.
Councillor Owen.
So in addition to what Councillor Charlie said, the property is in a designated wildfire development permit area. Are we talking about registering a covenant, a wildfire covenant on the property?
I think that becomes part of the PLR. No, sorry, the development. Yeah, do you want Krisha?
Krisha, come to the mic. Come on down to the mic, Krisha. Up, you're up.
So that becomes a part of the PLR or the development permit, whatever the next step the developer chooses to have. So if they want to subdivide further, then that becomes a requirement for the PLR. And if it is a direct development permit, then it becomes a requirement of the DP. So the next step.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Recommendation that council gives second reading to the official community plan amendment bylaw number 23832024. Councillor Chart, Councillor Petrosi, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that council gives first reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 23842024. Councillor Chart, Councillor Hogan, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oops. A recommendation that council gives second reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 23842024. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Charney, any questions? Those in favor? Opposed? We need to hear an audible from you, Councillor Egan.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you. Last recommendation, the council directs staff to schedule a public hearing. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Ogan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. New business, 8.1, 2024 Housing Needs Report. Virtual presentation by Mr. Brendan Daw, Vice President of Housing and Economics.
Greetings. Thank you so much for having me, Mayor and Council. So yes, by way of brief introduction, just want to make sure everyone can hear me. I am Brendan Daw, Vice President of Urbanics Consultants based in Vancouver. We were brought in by the regional district and partner municipalities to conduct a set of housing needs assessments, including one for your fine city. So I'll just jump right in, assuming that I have presentation available. Here it is. Let's move every time. Okay, so yes, City of Merritt, Thompson-Nicola Regional District Housing Needs Assessment. So let's jump right in. So this is based upon new housing needs of report methodology, create a common methodology for use for all municipalities and electoral areas in the province. Its primary function is to create an actual numerical housing need, drawing upon 6 different factors that the province has deemed important. The methodology is driven entirely by the province, and is thus all these figures should be comparable from town to town. Our key inputs to this are the number of people in extreme core housing need, that is, those residents in communities spending more than half their income to be able to afford shelter. Regional homeless figures as apportioned out by the municipality's share of population. A figure on suppressed household formation. Now, this is an interesting feature that I'm glad that they added that reflects the sense that as housing has gotten more expensive in British Columbia, people are more likely to shack up. They're less likely to move out of their parents' house. And so the rate of household leadership as reported by the census has tended to fall. We've used 2006 as an anchoring year. And so suppressed household formation basically says if everyone formed, set out on their own place or moved in together at the same rates by age as they did in 2006, then this is how many more extra homes they would need to have. Projected population growth. These are straightforwardly BC Stats household population projections based upon existing demographics and past migration patterns. An adjustment for rental vacancy rates based upon CMHC annual rental market surveys of purpose-built rentals, and then a demand factor provided by the province, which is something of a black box, but which multiplies all municipalities' housing needs by some factor around less than or greater than 1 to add a bit more of a buffer. So this is drawing upon data from the census, data from the CMHC, and BC stats. So what else do we include? So this is a full housing needs assessment. We engaged with stakeholders in interview sessions. Many stakeholders were consulted. We also spoke to 523 people in our online community survey, of which nearly a third were Merritt residents, 162 responses. So that's both the statistical and the subjective sort of aspects that went into building this housing needs report. Just want to draw attention to some of the limitations. A key limitation is that our main statistical data input, the census, is from 2021. Now, in most municipalities, that's merely marked on the fact that that's 3 years ago, but Merritt is very much a special case because of quite bad flooding that happened in November of 2021, several months after the census date. That said, there are still members of the community that have been displaced and have not been able to return home. It is not an overwhelming component of the housing stock, and I think this is still useful information. There are some additional methodological concerns that we have. So one thing I like to emphasize to our clients is that just because the province says that this is the number that you need doesn't mean that you can go out and that developers will be able to just go out and build that amount of housing. Not only is some of it non-market housing by nature, but it's not based upon market inputs. It's based upon demographic inputs as well as somewhat mysterious inputs. A key driver of population estimates is driven by the provincial population growth projections. Now, those are based on the province's PEOL-PLE model, which takes, based upon the existing cohorts by age and gender, projecting their fertility into the future, and then adjusted for past migration patterns. And if the province knows that there's going to be some big economic change in the community, they will add an adjustment into that future. But that's largely what that is. And so if you're a community that, builds lots of housing and is very accommodating of newcomers, the province's population projection will tend to assume that you'll have more people coming in the future. And so this does tend to bake in certain past planning choices into future projections, which makes it somewhat tricky to use as a future planning tool. Lastly, a key limitation, I would say, is the demand factor. I never like to say this in front of elected officials and clients, but I don't know what it is. Try as I might, I have been through the province's methodology, through their documentation. It's all very, I don't know. I've talked to people involved, and there's been some suggestion that it may have something to do with existing levels of density. But this is more or less a black box provided by the province. So you can go and check their spreadsheet, and just every municipality in the province has a number. And so that is a key part of our projections here. Lastly, I would just like to draw attention to the regional importance of housing markets. It's very good that the regional district have cooperated on this study, and I think it will help provide a more holistic impression here. But of course, housing markets are regional. One electoral area or municipality's ability to shift the housing composition and price curve is very limited. But working together, that's I think really the goal of this exercise. So we do have some key projections of population here. Total population projection going into 2041 is relatively flat, from a 2020 population of 7,333 to a 2041 population of 7,432. But that does mask certain characteristics, a relative decline in the number of those under the age of 15, and a general but not permanent increase in the number of senior citizens, members of the community. And so this does create housing challenges going forward. Housing needs are different for different demographics. Another key thing that we'd like to point out is that even if you have the same population, there is a very long-standing tendency of household formation rates to fall, and household sizes are shrinking. And so you can have a situation where you have just as many people as you did before, but you need substantially more houses, and this is important planning dimensions to it. So here is our core findings from this, the housing needs for the district Merritt. So our projection is that there is a need for 1,325 units over 20 years, 471 units over 5 years. And those are the period 2021 to 2041 and 2021 to 2026. This is largely driven by the anticipated growth input. So the province's projection of past current demographics and past migration into the future, which suggests a need for 679 units over 20 years just to accommodate the change in the number of households in the community. Similarly, the additional local demand is a very large input here, 335 units expected over 20 years, and then lesser impacts from suppressed household formation, homelessness, and extreme poor housing need. So we did hear quite a bit from Merritt residents. There is a substantial concern about affordability, about homelessness was a key issue that we heard in our surveys and in our stakeholder engagements. We did hear a certain appetite for more modes of more typologies of housing, including apartment buildings, particularly low-rise apartment buildings is something that people were all right with. There were calls for RVs, tiny home living, and other options that enable people to stretch their household budgets further and put a roof over their heads. And so we do have some additional details in the report regarding what we found in our engagement sessions and surveys. We're very interested in concerns that tenants have regarding problems that they have with their landlords, with the quality of the existing housing stock, which can be a challenge, especially given events in the last few years in Merritt that do need some addressing and perhaps can draw some support from the city and the regional district. So we do have some key areas of local need. We expect that there is a need to expand the non-market and supportive housing options, especially in the situation that we've found in our work writ large, that the scope for development in Merritt is pretty limited given cost of construction, and the scope for private market development in Merritt is quite limited given the cost of construction and the prices found in that community. So there's a definite need for non-market options to meet some of those housing needs, as well as the needs of the renter population and senior housing needs. So thank you so much for your time, folks, and I am happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mr. Doyle. Question that I have for you is, of course, this was done in 2021, and on page 63, it says Merritt has no studio units recorded in 2021 census. The lack of studio and one-bedroom units can be potentially result in challenges for households. Now that's changed since that time, and other things have changed since then as well. So we are kind of moving in that direction as well. With the housing needs situation, is there any federal buy-in to return to, like when I bought my first home, we had a homeowners where I only had to come up with the 5% of the 10% down payment as a first time on my first home. Is there any appetite for federal to consider doing that again to help people get into homes? Because, I mean, it's one thing to bring this to communities, which we're trying to deal with, but there also has to be buy-in from other two levels of government to help with this. It can't just be on us. And, I'll take my daughter, for example. She has a fairly good paying job, but she'll never be able to save up 25% of a down payment for a house. It's almost been made to the point where kids under the age of 35 cannot afford a home. Whereas when I was growing up, it was almost very workable that we could by the time we hit working age. So I'm just wondering if we might see some situation where we have some levels of government that start to help with that situation.
I'm not the most versed on the current policy there. I know that recent years policy has very much been focused on trying to improve the viability of rental housing projects, which in MLI Select and such have really revolutionized the way that housing has been delivered locally. It is my understanding that some freakishly high percentage of British Columbians under the age of 40 are relying on parental help to be able to afford their down payments, if at all. So that's certainly a well-observed phenomenon. But yeah, there is an appetite for below market housing support. There's an appetite for rental housing market support, and there may be an emerging appetite for for ownership housing market support. But this is all running into the unfortunate situation that everyone making a government or private sector budget is running into, is that money is not cheap anymore. And a great many things that would have been really great ideas in 2013 are now much more expensive, and perhaps everyone from Ottawa on down is perhaps wishing that they had been more willing to help on those issues earlier.
Thank you, Councillor Charney.
Thank you for the report. You did mention it was a little outdated. I also found a little confusion and contradictory in sections. From 1996 until 2021, with the exception of an 8-year period from 2006 to 2000, I guess that's a 10-year period, to 2016, there was an increase of 141 residents. Every other year saw a decline in residents, with a total decline from 1996 to 2021, a decline of 580 residents. And you're saying that the population declines at a rate of 0.5% per year, or a total population decline of 11.7% from 1996 to 2021. And your projected growth is 1% over the next 20 years. And with the 13% with the age of over 65. But you're then saying that the total new builds for 2041, up to 2041, is 1,325. 15% of this over the next 5 years and 42% over the next 20 years. I don't see how, and I know you mentioned that sometimes your population and doesn't match with housing developments, but I cannot see with a 1% increase in population that we need 1,325 homes. On page 64, it was mentioned that the number of unaffordable, inadequate, and unsuitable housing has declined since 2006. And then it's mentioned that the monthly rates have increased by 45%. It's a bit of a contradiction there. And expanding rental housing, it's great to say we have to expand rental housing, but one of the big obstacles is the residential tenancy branch. Landlords do not want to deal with residential tenancy branch because it's a very tenant biased. And there's a lot of landlords that are now going to be switching to short-term rentals. So I think that's one thing that should be addressed by all communities through the government. And so I just found this report that the number of housing projected with the increase of population in my mind does not match. Thank you.
CEO.
Sorry, I just want to clarify, if that's okay, Mr. Daw, this is the stats that they have to work with are from the 2021 census. Yep. So it's not that the report is dated, it's that these are the latest released census stats. So just it's a brand new report from I think our previous one was from 2020. It was 2021. So the data and that report was from the 2016 census or something. It was, so this is the updated version. And that we are just reminding viewers at home that we are required by the province to provide this report by the end of the year. So what we would like, I think ultimately, is if council has some feedback for any edits or concerns that they have with the report, to provide that to the CO, so that we can get that off to Mr. Daw to make sure the report is updated to meet our needs. But I think there's just a lot of math. And as Mr. Daw said, some mystery factors, mathematical mystery factors that the province is built in.
Yeah, and you know what? Councillor Charney does bring up a good point. We're talking a 40-year period. So this is about 3 years old. We're still talking 40 years down the road at 1%. So numbers don't jive. And I mean, who knows what could happen in that 40 years? We might strike oil underneath this place for all we know. So I mean, we're, you know, but it's a good idea that council does point these things out. And if it has to get to Mr. Daw, then that's what we need to do. So.
Adjust the report as needed, but some of it is just statistical and can't really
Councillor
necessarily change.
Councillor Egan?
Yes, thank you. I can appreciate the position that the presenter finds himself in, presenting data from our results from a 2021 census. I kind of have to agree with the mayor when he says you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, look at the housing that's already being developed. We've got apartments, condominiums, mobile home parks all coming in. We're looking at doing a physical assessment of the area that we have and what we want to attract to our area. Who knows what the population is going to become by 4041. But the other thing that I wanted to point out, and I want to give kudos to Councillor Olgan. I don't know if he's presented this to everybody, but he went through quite a detailed analysis of the housing report, and it's very interesting. If you all want to have a read, you should.
Thank you. Councillor Olgan. You say your name 3 times and you appear, just like Candyman.
So my question is for staff. If I recall properly, the housing assessment last one made was in 2020 and it was implemented in 2021. So I share some of the concerns from Councillor Charney about this report. So I understand that it was based on census in 2021, I believe, right? So it's somehow outdated, but I believe that this year, back in March, council approved the new housing assessment to be produced. So I feel like I have concerns about data limitations, outdated census data, survey size limitations, the impacts of COVID-19 that should be calculated here or added here, as well as from the flood, the provincial housing needs formula that I disagree with that. The suppressed household formation estimates, no economic viability assessment, and I can keep going on with all my concerns. So I think that this report, if we had that housing assessment done, I mean, it would be the ideal document to produce this report and meet the deadline if we had done, in 2024 that impact in housing assessment. But right now, with this outdated information, what's the next step? So because it's not accurate numbers here.
See you.
So this is the report that was required by the province with their required methodology. So we're meeting the province's requirements. The only census data available is the 2021 census data. We wouldn't have necessarily any better data. The trick now, and I think possibly the gap or misstep with the last report, is that the action, the needs assessment, the action items were actually actionable. So the next step for us, which we've been working on actively, and I think we have a contractor ready to start, is the actual action plan. So when we do CMHC funding, so for the half funding, we need to have the housing needs report done, but they also want to have an action plan. So when we have gone through that action plan, preparing for our last CMHC application for half 2, we really identified that most of them were not actually actionable. You know, it's sorry, Mr. Daw, but it's the generic report that everybody gets with no real local action plan. So our next step is to work with our local partners, our service providers, our developers to actually produce a local action plan that we're going to be able to do some things with. And so we have a contractor that is beginning that process with us to develop that action plan. And we have identified a couple of potential projects that we think will help to support some of the things that our local service providers have identified that will probably need to be in that action plan. So we're kind of like working concurrently on the action plan and an action couple of actions. But yeah, we're looking for something a little bit more specific and actionable, because as you know, like sometimes the goals we can't actually meet the goals. And a lot of it is really reliant on private sector. It's reliant on funding, grant funding in particular. So we've done this. We did it with the TNRD because it was the most cost-effective way to meet the province's requirements. And now we have another project that we're working through to get an actual plan for what we need. So it could be anything from council advocating to the province to develop a seniors long-term care facility here with X number of beds on the hospital grounds. It could be something like that where we actually have next steps.
Thank you. Done, Councilor?
I had my lid on.
Yeah, but he,
So let's comment here. So would that be beneficial if I share my report to council?
sure.
So we can assess and see if you are agreeable to my concerns. If we are on the same page, we can share that information to the presenter, so that, because we have to work with the census 2021, there is no other one, so nothing else we can do, and we can just make the best of these numbers in for that to meet the requirement.
Councilor Richard.
Okay, well, first off, if we did have the assessment in 2020, we're getting the data that we have from the census. And that is if people actually filled out the document and submitted it online, because during the pandemic, it's not like people were admitting where they were living necessarily, or with bubbles and different things. So we've seen a change in unhoused population, especially in the last 4 years that you've read in the report. And a lot of people don't fill out the census because Merritt doesn't seem any smaller now than it did in 1996. I mean, I can see where I work, there's a lot of people moving up here and changing addresses. So I have a hard time believing that Merritt's smaller, at least in the last 2 years, than it was. So we're going on census data, but the other thing is too, is that with the amount of people trying to leave the Lower Mainland, earlier you had mentioned, well, we don't know what could happen in the future, and Councillor Egan had said that, and we have to keep that in mind also, is that even if we are planning for growth, or we hope to plan for growth, we have to have the housing as well. So maybe we don't have a large increase in population over the last 5 years, but maybe we will if we have the housing. And it does take time, and everything is a slow process, so we have to consider that as well. But I just think that our census numbers seem low, and likely a good chunk of people didn't even fill out the census. It may be illegal, but people do illegal things all the time.
So,
I just wanted to comment to although the response rate is relatively low in comparison to the population, we all can recognize that online surveys or mail surveys are very challenging to get data from. And 162 Merritt respondents is significantly higher than the last housing needs report. So we've seen, we had some pretty significant staff investments in trying to up our response rate. So although it is statistically quite low, it's not outside the realm of what might be expected for this type of data collection, and is fairly representative of what you get, right? Like you get a 5% response on some of these things, that's pretty impressive. So, but it is higher than the last one, which is a real testament to the investment that our director put into getting these surveys out to people and asking people, and going to the shelter and asking people to fill out the surveys, and asking seniors to fill out the surveys. And so there was a lot of effort to try and get this data. So I think the last one, it was like 20 or 25 or something. It was like really low.
so myself, I base our growth on every time we got to buy a new fire engine. If we are actually declining in population, why are we buying new fire engines? Because we have to keep up with pumping capacity. Doesn't seem to make too much sense to me. So that's my bellwether. It's probably completely incorrect, but it's the way I go. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Charney.
I'll expand on what CAO mentioned, the survey from the public. And I think it's really important that the the public becomes knowledgeable about housing mandates, where it comes from. That people, when you read some of the comments, their expectations are that the municipality is responsible for housing of all sorts. And I think they have to understand that housing is now being downloaded onto municipalities from the provincial government, which is costing communities millions of dollars, which they do not have. And so I think they have to become very realistic of what their expectations are from the community, because we can't afford everything that the government says must happen. So educating the public as to who's responsible for housing, I think, is very important also.
So we have two recommendations. Or any questions, other questions from Mr. Doss before we make the recommendations? Any other questions? Any good? I have two recommendations. One, that council adopt the 2024 Housing Needs Report, HNR, as presented. Councillor Carney, Councillor Petrosi, any other questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried? Yes.
There was feedback provided. So if council would like that feedback to be incorporated in some fashion, you could make that recommendation, because I know Councillor Ogan had feedback, Councillor Charney had feedback, that the recommendation actually be.
I have a second recommendation to read, so we could do it there.
But you don't want it to be adopted as presented. You want it to be adopted
Oh. As amended.
as amended.
Okay, let's back up.
So adopted, you will adopt it with the recommended amendment or recommended edits or something to that effect.
Sure. So Councillor Ogan, you would like to present your finding, your report? So that would report with the amended report, etc. Okay. So let me do that again, that council adopt the 2024 Housing Needs Report, HNR, as presented, as amended and presented. Is that what we're looking for? I have
And I
no idea
think-
what you people are looking for.
Excuse me, do we not want to add that we're going to be using some of this information to create an action plan?
Yeah, so I think Councillor Egan is correct. So I think you want to have that the council adopt the 2024 Housing Needs Report, HNR, with the recommended edits and corrections. And then I'll think about Councillor Egan's, maybe Councillor Egan has wording for her that we use this as part of our action plan.
Yes,
So
well,
she might have
you
words
did
for her
mention
own.
that you've already hired a contractor to start on this. I see you nodding. Okay. So, I mean, if you've hired a contractor, I think it's important to say that we get them to initiate the action plan, so we can move forward with whatever we need to do. I can't think of it right now. Sorry.
I know, I'm trying to think of the right words. Just give me a second, Councillor Egan.
So, third strike at this. That council adopt the 2024 Housing Needs Report, NHR, as presented, as amended with recommended edits and corrections.
And a concern shared by Councillor Olgan.
That's what this covers.
Okay, good.
With request, so yeah, you guys figure it all out. Sounds good to me. Again, all those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
And then we have a second one, and the council directs staff to submit the approved NHR to the provincial government by December 31st, 2024 to meet provincial deadline. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Charney, any questions on that one? Did I miss anything? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Dawes. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Sticky subject, that housing.
Yeah.
And I think in response to Councillor Egan's comment about that we're going to be, I think instead of just doing a resolution, I will just assure you that these and other reports, historical reports from will be used to inform our action plan as well as community input. So this will all go to our contractor when this one's approved. I think it actually The draft is probably already actually with our contractor, but we will send them the updated report as well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Who is the contractor? Can we say? Or is that bias?
It would be Urban Metrics. Sorry,
Okay.
Urban Matters. There's like 4 companies that have urban in it. I can never get them straight.
Okay.
Thank you. 8.2, 2025 Community Resilience Investment Program Application. We have a recommendation that council instruct staff to submit the attached 2025 Community Resiliency Investment Program funding application to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities, UBCM.
I'll,
Councillor Egan, Councillor Baxter, any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Second recommendation that council commits to providing overall grant management. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Ogan, any questions on that one? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. 8.3, Parade Day event at Spirit Square hosted by Tourism Nicola Valley. We have a recommendation that council approve Tourism Nicola Valley's use of a portable propane fire pit at Spirit Square for the Parade Day event on November 29th, 2024.
Who's operating it?
I don't know yet. Councillor Ogan, I need a sec. Councillor Ogan, Councillor Charney. Councillor Egan's question, who's running it? Do we know?
Yeah, like,
I would imagine Tourism Nicola Valley. Yep, Tourism Nicola Valley. It'd be Tourism Nicola Valley.
what if it blows up?
It's insurance.
Yeah. Councillor Baxter.
That was my question. Is there insurance that, so that we're not liable if something happens, if somebody falls in it?
Yeah, trust me, that would be there.
Balls in it? How big is the
Councillor
fire pit?
Councillor Charney.
I think this is a great idea. It's usually cold and having marshmallows. I think they should add smokies to it too, but that's just my point. But I think it's a great idea. A great add to the Christmas week.
You don't think so? And then we'll be able to be throwing flaming marshmallows downtown.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So I have a question offhand. Just a question. I noticed when I walked by the post office, they have one of those out there going all day long. Did they get a permit for that, or how does that work?
It's because it's propane, they don't require a permit. And because it's not, well, I guess it might actually be in the alley.
Yeah, this is a portable propane fire pit. They have the exact same thing.
Yeah, they're asking to use it in Spirit Square because that's city land. They're asking specifically for this event
So it's on city land.
because it's on
Yeah,
Spirit Square.
yeah.
One is. The,
Yeah, I know,
that's-
but I mean, it's an open fire pit. It's in the middle of downtown.
It's not an open fire pit.
That's why I'm asking the
It's a
question.
propane fire pit.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing up that question. I appreciate it. This is apparently not my night to do this, so anyway. 8.4. Vision Zero Grant for Collettville Multi-Use Path Design Phase 1. We have a recommendation that council direct staff to apply for the $20,000 grant from Vision Zero BC to complete detailed design of Phase 1 of the Collettville Multi-Use Path. Councillor Baxter, wow, that was fast. Councillor Ogan, that equally as fast. We have Councillor Egan, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I was wondering where exactly this is going to be, or if they had a drawing of where it's going to be.
At this point, our intention obviously is to have the multi-use path go from bridge to bridge. It would, in the entirety of the path would go up to Lindley Creek.
Hill to Linley?
Yes, I would. That's why I'm staring at you, Mr. Green.
Mr. Green, front and center. You had to push that button. Mr. Green, please
Thank you,
enlighten us.
Worship Council. The phase 1, overall, we have a concept plan already done up from Main Street Bridge to the new Middlesbrough Bridge. Phase 1 that we're talking about right now is going to connect the Middlesbrough Bridge to Burr, where there's already sidewalks that run down through that neighborhood. It's sort of the low hanging fruit. That should be the cheapest section. It doesn't have a whole lot of complications built into it. So it should be a real easy one to knock off.
Okay.
Okay.
Councillor Charney, your light's still on?
We really want to get, by knock off, he means we really, really want to provide this to the people who live in the Collettville neighborhood, not just knock off the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
well, sorry.
Councillor
Sorry.
Turner?
Okay, yeah, I really want to see Collettville addressed. But you're saying, Mr. Green, that the phase one would be from the Middle Burrows Bridge to Fir Street? Which one is Fir Street?
Past the big blue house.
That's Hill Street.
No. Hill Street's the next one down. And then
So in front of you, what is your street? What is your street?
hold on, let the professional come back up again.
Mr. Green?
Mr. Green,
May I help?
Yes,
So Midday Valley Road comes
Yes.
from the power plant up.
Yep.
Connects at Fir and Lindley Creek. Fir goes into the subdivision, Midday Valley goes down towards power plant,
yes.
Lindley Creek goes down towards the school. That intersection from the new Middlesbrough Bridge, that's the section I want to do first.
So okay, so you're not going to do Hill to Lindley, which in my opinion is more important
It's a lot
because
more
of that
complex.
gully.
Complex, dollars, stormwater.
I know.
I'm
but
looking
it's
at knocking off a
We've been
quick
here
and easy
before.
one.
I know we've been here before and I'm really happy to see that it's now starting. The process is starting.
So
I'm
then-
really happy about
so then
that.
pull your glue out of the works, thank you.
We, the three of us sat down and discussed what was feasible given our financial situation and what funding may be available to us at this time to do the design and then be able to get construction started potentially this year. So you'll see that in the budget. And this is at this point, what we know we can afford. Or we premise that we can afford. I shouldn't say no. What we premise we can afford as the first step. So every year we continue to apply for the various active transportation grants that are out there. I think that we lost the opportunity this year because somebody else applied for the monies in Merritt or something. I can't remember. There was something about somebody applied on something else. But our intention is to continue to, as we can, to finish these sections to get from bridge to bridge.
Councillor Petrosi?
Yeah, I've been asked by quite a few people in town about that phase one section, what was happening. So it's good to see that there is going to be a design. And then phase two is, I guess.
Yeah, and
gonna be
that's what we have to understand is from Main Street Bridge uphill to Lindley Creek. There's a lot of drainage concerns in there. We'd have to look at putting a storm main where the ditch is, which would be a backbone for everything else to connect to. We start talking pretty big dollars, and it's also a fairly long stretch. Doesn't connect to anything right now. I'm trying to do a quick and easy connection from an existing pathway that was just finished at a bridge to an existing sidewalk system that runs all the way down through the subdivision and gets us closer. So, and we also don't have as many property constraints. That whole section that we're talking about now is a very wide right of way. There's no property concerns. There's no elevation concerns or back slopes. Once we start working our way down Lindley Creek, the road's narrow, the hills are steep, back slopes are steep. We're gonna have a lot more challenges getting down there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it. 8.5 acting mayor schedule. So I'm going to read this out. Recommendation that pursuant to section 130 of the Community Charter, Council make acting mayor appointments for January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025 in accordance with the following rotation. January 2025, Councillor Dana Egan. February 2025, Councillor Dana Egan. March 2025, Councillor Wendy Charney. April 2025, Councillor Wendy Charney. May 2025, Councillor Paul Petrosi. June 2025, Councillor Paul Petrosi. July 2025, Councillor Adam Etchart. August 2025, Councillor Adam Etchart. September 2025, Councillor Manuel Ogin. October 2025, Councillor Manuel Ogin. And November 2025, Councillor Yvette Baxter. December 2025, Councillor Yvette Baxter. Councillor Baxter approves. Seconder, thank you. Councillor Petrosi. Any questions or queries or anything?
I
on
just,
that?
I just want to thank Councillor Etchart for switching with me.
You betcha. Team player. I notice my name isn't on here. I feel like a slacker.
You work all the time.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 8.6 council meeting schedule. Recommendation that council approve the 2025 council meeting schedule as attached to the November 14th, 2024 report of the Director of Corporate Services and instruct staff to advertise accordingly. I need a move. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Olgan, any questions on that at all? So in advance. Yes, Councillor Etchart.
I only had a question. Was it intended to only have one meeting in November? I understand that the November 11th would be a stat, but normally we have only July, August, and December with one meeting months. With sometimes a moved meeting for UBCM, but I wasn't sure if that was deliberate. And are we planning on having a second one in September?
Probably have lots of budget meetings in November anyways next year.
Oh, sorry. See,
Thank you, Your Worship. So in November of 2025, November 11th is a statutory holiday for Remembrance Day. So the council procedure bylaw does state that regular council meetings would be held on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month. So we did not schedule one for that. We can certainly schedule a special council meeting. We can schedule council meetings throughout the year as we need. And we tend to do that.
Just because November's getting close to budget, I just wondered if, well, I guess we can always add them. We just have to put this for the plan for the next year, but I was just thinking. Yeah.
We will make sure you have so many meetings to get the work done that you don't have to worry about.
No, I'm just-
Yeah, understood.
I'm killing your mic right now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll make it go.
Okay, so thank you for bringing that, Councillor. Thank you, CEO, for the explanation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. 8.7, City Hall closure on December 24th, 2024. Recommendation that council approves the closure of City Hall on December 24th, 2024 at 12 p.m. Councillor Hogan, Councillor Baxter, any questions on this? Councillor Charney.
Yeah, I just had a bit of a concern that City Hall is closed for a week. They're closed on the, of course, I didn't write it down, the 27th, May tonight, 30th and the 31st. So that's 3 days where the public doesn't have access to City Hall. And I understand that our staff has to A, take holiday, or B, work from home or come into the office. So I'm just wondering why we're closing it on those 3 days. When I did a quick survey of other communities, they were all open on those 3 days. So I was just wondering why we're closing those 3 days.
CEO.
It's actually a council policy. So, and this additional one is just a gift from council to staff to show your beautiful appreciation. But yeah, there's actually a council policy.
You okay with that, Ebenezer?
Oh, nice.
You're gonna eat that.
Kind of like my snickerdoodle?
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, but how can it be a gift if they either have to take holidays or?
After the 24th, the 24th would
Oh,
be.
yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that, but is it the Friday, the Monday, the Tuesday? So either they have to take holiday or they have to work.
Yes, it's the
But
gift.
City Hall, I'm talking about the public City Hall.
Yeah, no, the gift is the closure of City Hall for a half day on the 24th with
Yep,
staff going
Great,
home.
I have no
pay.
problems.
The other ones are just, I will probably be here. The director of finance will probably be here.
I'm just wondering why
yeah.
they're closed to the public.
Yeah, it's just council, it's a standing council policy. Would you like it to
I'd
go on
like
the
to see
list?
that policy.
I would like to have a discussion on that.
You know,
Like not this year,
you-
don't, hey, don't call me.
You know what?
Ebenezer, I'm far
Jacob
from
Marley is
Ebenezer.
coming to your house later tonight.
No, I am far from that. More,
coming
yeah, I
to
mean,
your house.
if you have to
He's gonna
work,
Have that thing with chains.
why isn't Hall open? you know, it just seems, I mean, you still have to work, right? So why are we closed to the public? That's all I would like to discuss.
Councillor Logan.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I am in favor of this recommendation. So I just want to say that we need to advertise properly. So sometimes this is a new change, right? So they are not expecting, to have the office open all day. So if this is going to be a change, make sure that it's very well advertised. That's all.
Is it a new change?
Yeah.
The
CAO?
No,
Is that-
no.
The Friday is often a half day, or Christmas Eve is often a half day, but this is a year-to-year recommendation because this is a paid gift from council. The other one, the one that Councillor Charney's opposed to, sorry, I just looking at you and I'm like, waiting for a remark. Is a policy, we'll bring that forward. I'll see if we can get that sent out tomorrow for all of council to see, and then you can have it brought forward to council. And what it is the reason it is because we have so many people who want that time off to be with family, that it's challenging based on our staff size to be open, and the really low amount of traffic that I believe has happened in the past.
Are there no workhouses? Are there no jails?
I would still, you say it's, excuse me, can I say something? Excuse me, can I say
Yes.
something? I was gonna say, like, CAO said it was a council policy. I'd like to see a copy of that policy.
Yeah, you'll get it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
and it can go to policy committee too.
Sure.
Councillor Etchard.
I think that you're gonna start to get the raised eyebrow cookie that I've been getting in the past, because these burns tonight have been a little bit spicy. My only question is, I think it's reasonable to have the office closed because of the amount of people being away, and I don't think a lot of people think about paying taxes or utilities. But the only thing I was wondering is, if we are closed on that day, and because utilities are owed at the end of December, is there a grace day on January 3rd for paying the utilities, or are they late if they paid on the 3rd? That's my only question. I'm in support of it being closed. That would be my only thing, is if maybe people were away or they couldn't get in to pay the bill, if we'd have.
The discount period is the end of November.
Well, the discount period, but if they say we're away in December
Yeah, but they've already missed it. If it's in November, they've missed it by a month.
No.
Well, that's
The discount is November
that's for the
30th.
discount.
It's due by December 31st. So say they were able to make it back for December 28th or something, and they were planning on being in on December 30th. Will they get penalized a late fee on their utilities? Is my question. I agree with being closed. I just as only ask.
I think they could potentially
Unpaid utilities on December 31st will roll on to taxes.
So there'll be a
Following
penalty
year.
Yeah.
if people are late.
but we do have a mail slot. So if it's in the mail slot,
Would we consider it received? That's my only question.
There's no one to staff it.
probably one of us will be here.
Okay. Just curious. I am in support, just saying, of being closed. I like Christmas. I like everything, just saying. No, that generally means heart disease, so that's scary.
Councillor Baxter.
I'm in favor. I think the staff deserve to have some time off and be with their families during Christmas.
You're a Christmas angel.
Yeah,
No Christmas for you. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh my God. That's it. Yes.
See? Yes.
Oh, sorry. See, this is like a cross now. Be gone. Did you change your vote? Thank you, Councillor Grinch. I appreciate that. Moving on. Civil forfeiture. Oh, this is right up your alley. Civil forfeiture grant program, community service program. Recommendation that council direct staff to apply for a $40,000 grant from the civil forfeiture grant program to develop and implement a women's and girls empowerment and safety program. Councillor Charney, Councillor Olgan, Any questions on that at all? Counselor Charney,
I think this is great.
redeem yourself here.
Yes, yes. I think we should apply for this grant. I'm all in favor of it, but I would like some education on how does painting a mural relate to women and girls empowerment and safety?
I agree.
I just as a little understanding of how those two match.
There are two different projects.
Okay.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, so the murals
Got it.
are, yeah, like anti-graffiti,
And-
street art kind of stuff.
And
There were two
Haven't got there
different.
yet. Yeah, there's
I
two.
only
I've just
saw
read-
one.
I just read one so far.
I only
There are
read
two.
one as well.
Did I get a mover and seconder for that? All those in favor? Opposed? Here comes the second one. Recommendation that council direct staff to apply for a $40,000 grant from the Civil Forfeiture Grant Program to develop and implement a youth arts program. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Baxter, any questions on this? Nope. Okay. Councillor, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 8.9 Green Municipal Fund Climate Ready Plans and Process Grant. Recommendation that council direct staff to apply for $140,000 under the Green Municipal Fund Climate Ready Plans and Process Grant. Councillor Etchart, Councillor
I'll move.
Baxter, Councillor Egan, why not?
Yeah.
Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Notices of motion. Notices of motion. The following notice of motion was submitted by myself at the November 12th, 2024 regular council meeting. And the recommendation that we have there is that council approve an in-kind grant in aid to the Merritt Country Christmas for the use of the Civic Center auditorium on November 25th to 30th, 2024.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Ogan, any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Reports from council. This ought to be fun. Councillor Baxter in there like a shot.
I went on November 16th, the Saturday walk with the mayor to the bridge opening. It was awesome. A little bit chilly, but it's good. And then November 20th, I went to the watershed roundtable at the Civic Center. That was good. And November 21st, I went to the Nickel Valley Transportation Society meeting and the Stewick's meeting. And then November 25th, I went to the Christmas tree lighting, and I'm looking forward to all the country Christmas events this week. I do. I love it.
Councillor Charney.
Okay, on November 14th, we went to the escape room put on by the fire department, and it was great. It was sad to see that staff beat council's time,
They
but
get to eat before they win.
But I was just going to say, the only reason
It's not
that staff won is because council had to go to the escape room with an empty stomach. And so that really affected their brain power. As we all know, food affects brain power. So that's next time we will win. November 16th, went to the bridge opening. It was great to see all the number of people there. I was kind of disappointed that Emil Anderson was not acknowledged. They did a great job on that bridge, and it would have been nice if they had been acknowledged.
They got $14 million.
Yeah, I know. On November 20th, I went to the Nicola Watershed meeting. 80 people attended. I thought to myself, 80 people come to that. We don't get 80 people at an open house, but 80 people were there. So that was great to see. And interesting to hear that the Nicola Watershed encompasses 728,000 acres, which is 1.8 million acres. It's a large area. Two main rivers are the Nicola and the Coldwater. Three largest lakes are Nicola, Pennask, and Stump. And then Tom Wilms gave a really interesting talk about the importance of beavers and how they go in the wetlands and they build up their beaver houses and retain the water. So that was very interesting. November 21, I went to NVIT and had a look around there. And so they have 300 students that attend on campus in person, and then 300 students attend virtually. And that will be increasing each year, apparently. November 22nd, I had a SILGA meeting along with Councillor Etchart. So the Spring Silver Conference is coming along nicely, lots of things being done. One thing that council has to do is decide on a charity where we want to, the money that they raise goes to a certain charity. So our council has to decide on which charity we want. So that's one thing we'll have to come up with. Pub nights on the 29th, 3 suggestions, Empty Keg, Legion, and the Grand. Only one has been confirmed, and that's the Grand. Welcome reception on the 30th will be at NVIT. Caterer is not confirmed, but they're looking at Bobby Garcia as for entertainment. The banquet night, Lee Woods will be doing a food truck, and that's being confirmed. But it won't be like a food truck. He's going to do a banquet type thing with the food truck. So there won't be a lineup like we had in Vernon for lunch. The keynote speaker, Strong Towns with Norm Van Eden Petersman, has been confirmed. And so those are just some of the highlights. November 23rd was a Saturday. I attend a psychological first aid all day on Saturday with Jody Millward. Excellent presenter. It was a really good day. Yesterday, November 25, I went to the Christmas tree light up and I was cold. So I'm glad that we might have a propane heater for the next gathering. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, I'll go next. November 13th, I met with the TNRD Compost and Waste Group. They are coming to Merritt to look for a composting situation. They looked at our community garden up at the hill, but it's already kind of being done up there and there wasn't enough room. So we visited a possible site of a new community garden over the next few years, and they're quite interested in putting a composting situation for the community, and that more to be determined on that. Of course, the escape room on the 14th was really well done. Thank you to the fire department. Very good clues, very well set up, very well done. I missed every single one of them. Thank goodness for Councillor Baxter, or we'd still be in there. On November the 16th, I did the walk and the bridge opening, and want to take a moment to thank the ROC team and Sean, who have worked very hard to make that happen. I did want to thank the minister that was responsible, Minister Bowen Maw, but because of the way the government is working, she could not come up and get her credit, but I did give it to her over the phone, and she appreciates it. So she did a lot of hard work to make sure that happened and came through for us. On the 18th, I met with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure for the safe overpass that will connect our side to the Walmart side. And that is now moving forward with conceptual plans, and we'll probably see more in February on that. So that's going to be nice to have that connected safely for people who want to go over the bridge and not have to worry about the concerns that we've had. And I want to thank Council for taking that to AUBCM last year, meeting with staff and pushing that forward. So if anybody ever says, is UBCM important? Yes, it is. It's 100% important because that's what got us over the top on that one. On November the 20th, I went to Nicola Meadows and did my monthly meeting with the people there, and I enjoyed that. Had our first Airport Appreciation Day meeting at the Coldwater to get set up. We've lost 2 people on that group, so we're going to have to try and recruit some more, but we're moving forward with it. And then, of course, I did the Nicola Valley Roundtable. At the 21st, I was at TNRD, and the 25th, I was at the Christmas tree light up. Gas Buddy, here we go. Vancouver today, 171.9 is the low, 181.9 is the high. Kamloops, 153.9 is the low, and 163.9 is the high. Kitimat, 165.9. Apparently, they have one gas station there. Kimberley, 147.9 to 149.9, and Merritt, 164.9 to 166. So the big winner is Kimberley. So thank you. Councillor, who's button my trip pushing here? Councillor Petrosi.
November 14th, I stopped in at the community policing office and had a discussion with Marlene about the Citizens on Patrol group. And let's just say it's a work in progress. November 16th, along with Mayor Getz, actually did the walk after the bridge opening, which was really good. So my wife really enjoyed walking and talking with you. So that was a great day to have the bridge finally opened. November 20th, attended along with Mayor Getz, Councillors Baxter and Charney, the Nicola Watershed Community Roundtable. And as Councillor Charney said, 80 people attended. So great turnout and great speakers. So learned a lot. November 25th, attended the annual Christmas tree light up last night and looking forward to the parade this Friday. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
Counselor Egan- Counselor Egan?
Thank you. On November the 13th, I met with the CAO to discuss how the City Economic Development Committee department was going to be moving along, because one of my platforms for being a counselor was to get some economic development happening in town. And lo and behold, on the 15th, I met with the CAO and a number of other city staff, and we're proceeding with that. So there's some groundwork being done, and I'm hoping to be very helpful on that committee. On November the 14th, I went to the escape room, and I agree that the fire department did a bang up job putting that thing together. However, I think the city staff had a bit of an advantage because they'd done some of it before. So that's why we lost, not because of lack of hunger or being hungry. On November the 16th, I went to the opening of the bridge, which was really good. There was a fabulous turnout there, beautiful day. And whoever put together the tents and, you know, the layout of all the work that had been done, that was really, really well set up in the Claybanks RV park area, and a very good display of all the emergency services going across the bridge, responders, everybody that's been helping out. And congratulations to Mr. Strang and his team again. On November the 18th, I went to the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting, and a lot going on there, but not a lot I can report on at this point. So I will update you in the future. And I'm sorry that I'm missing out on a bunch of Christmas stuff, but as you can hear, I'm really not up to speed. So thank you. Oh, and I wanted to say something else to Councillor Charney. A beaver house is called a dam.
It is a lot, or a lot, and a dam, and something else.
That is what they build. That is what they build to stop the water, so that they can build a pond in the blue water.
They're not houses anyway.
Okay, you know a lot, right? You know I'm back to live there.
Well, you get so picky, it's time so you get some back.
Correct.
You're striking out all over the place tonight. Councilor Hogan?
Thank you. So November 14, I attended the fire department escape room. November 16, bridge opening. November 21st, the NBIT open house. It was a great tour in the trades building. November 25th, that was the Christmas tree light off. And I just want to mention, send a friendly reminder. So we don't have the snow angels program here. So with this heavy snow, so if we are able to help our elderly neighbors, so please do so. So there are so many people out there, waiting for somebody to help them with their sidewalks. Thank you.
You know, you mentioned that, and I've noticed that the Centennials are walking around with shovels on their shoulders. I see them out there. I'll have to confirm that with Brad, but it looks like that's part of their involvement in the community, is to help the seniors do their Tai Chi over there. But that's part of their, I do see a lot of them walking around with shovels. Yeah. So I think that's what they're doing. So I can confirm that. Councillor Etcher.
Well, there has been a lot that's happened the last couple of weeks, because even November 14th, I know I had a housing meeting with the Phelan Society, and then we had the escape room before that. So that was kind of a rush night. And pardon me, it was a museum meeting, it was on the 14th. Starting to get things mixed up, like somebody I'm sitting beside. ECDEV meeting we had on Monday the 18th. There wasn't a lot there, but I think the Bailey House is saying that they're gonna be quiet over the next while, and then we probably won't have a meeting for the ECDEV group for a few months. I was not able to make it to the CPO presentation on Thursday, but I did make it to the NVIT family day that they had up there. It was nice to see a lot of the staff and see a number of visitors that were there for the different programs that they have, their expanded trades program. November the 19th, there was SOGA had a board meeting group with AVIC from the island and NKLB about legislative reform, which is going to be helping a lot of the communities with working with the provincial government with funding and whatnot. A lot of the area directors are having problem actually making it they can work and have a stronger voice in their communities. We had the SOGA meeting last Friday, planning for the convention on the 22nd with Councillor Cherney, and we had a good discussion, everything from what kind of presenters we can have, breakout rooms, and tours that we can have for people in the community. Trying to think of what we can do for arranging transportation for people, because some of them only have maybe buses for up to 20 people to go to some of these tours. So if we're planning on having 200 people and can only take 20 people, we may have to think about what options we have for busing people around. So that we discussed a lot of things in that couple hours. It was a really good meeting. Alex from the Civic Center was part of it as well. So we had a very good discussion. It was great, I thought. I think Councillor Cherney would agree. The Christmas tree light up, and also on Saturday I was at the psychological first aid with Councillor Cherney, and we discussed a lot of things. So it's definitely been a busy couple of weeks, and we have another busy couple of weeks coming up with budget, and yeah, that's it.
Councillor Cherney, very good.
Okay, I have a clarification. The Beaver's home is called a dam. And it's also called a lodge, or it could be called a bank den. Bank den.
Could it be called a dam lodge?
Damn lodge, damn that lodge, yes.
Thank you. Clarification. Excellent. Any other reports? I think we got everybody. Good. Information items, there's 3 of them. If anybody has any interest in talking about any of them. Councillor Cherney.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the aquatic center. I know that there was one day where we mentioned that we might look at not continuing with it. And so I did a rough calculation, and so June, $210 would have been collected. And what I did was I amalgamated half adults, half ages up to 18. Instead of under 13, $3, over 13, $3.50. I just made it $3.25. So then I did half at $3.25, half at $5. So it would have been a collection of $210 for June, for July, $239, for August, $120, for October, $206. So for the 4 months, there was, I don't know if you want to call it a loss, but a non-collection of $775. I would really like to see that this program continues. It provides an essential opportunity for community members, especially those who may not have access to private pools or cannot afford regular swimming lessons, to engage in physical activity, build water safety skills, and promote overall health and well-being. It also fosters a sense of inclusivity, bringing together people of all ages and backgrounds in a supportive environment. Closing this event would be disproportionately impact low-income families, seniors, and children who rely on these free swims as a valuable resource for recreation, fitness, and social interaction, ultimately diminishing the community's commitment to accessible wellness programs for all. So I know that we did say that we have to look at that, but I would really like to see this program continue. So
we're going to let this go through the full calendar year before we make a decision. Is that how we're going to go, or how is this looking?
Sorry, this is entirely council's baby. Council chooses to extend it, chooses not to. It's 100% yours. If some councilors feel like there's enough data, I listened to Councilor Charney's just little blurb there, and in my head, in my aquatics background, I'm like, oh, what kind of programming can I run during those free swims? So,
I think
you guys can do whatever you want.
I think it's appreciated in the community, but I mean, we have it until May 17th of 2025. Yeah, it's 1 year. So, I mean, I don't know how council feels, but I'm willing just to let it go all the way through. And then at the end of that year, we'll see. I mean, there's got to be a form of goodwill to the community, especially after that whole December 24th thing. So but I think if we just let it run through until the 21st, get some information, but it's a goodwill situation. So I've got no issues with the continue. I think it was a great idea. So there you go. Anybody else got anything on anything else? Okay. Oh. Information items? Okay, go ahead. So we have,
On the ongoing projects.
I don't think we're there yet.
Oh, is that not an?
No, we're in
information?
information items. So that's Nicola Valley, that's
Oh,
Canopy.
that's, oh, right, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
So, and if anybody hasn't, you haven't got your library card and haven't got Canopy, think about it. It's kind of like a Plex system. It's amazing. You get all these movies and stuff for free. Get it on your tablet, you get it on your TV, you get it on your, it's free. It's from the library. Just go get a card, do it. I got it. It's great. Love it. So it's free. 12, CAO report. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to open up with a couple of things that are not in the agenda. Just for people who are listening, the escape room actually was a special event to celebrate council's completing their second year in office. But also to prove
Here it comes.
that we're just a better team.
There,
We're just a better team.
I knew it.
We're just a better team.
Next time.
So again, thank you to the fire department, to firefighter Gareth Tilts for putting on such a great thing. It is something he does regularly as part of his fire safety education program for the community, and hopefully will continue on. He's won awards for it. It's really a lot of fun and a tiny bit stressful. That's just one. The other one is we are continuing to work with BC Housing, Interior Health, and local service providers to develop program for the overnight shelter. We have exhausted many brainstorming ideas for where it could happen. We will be returning to the Cadet Hall. We're just looking for some updates around the logistics about times, staffing, and things like that. So I think we'll have most of that ironed out near the end of the week. And I'm currently actually getting emails from BC Housing, like as we're speaking. So hopefully we'll have that open and ready to go very shortly. And a plan for the hours that it will be available to the communities, people who are unhoused or in precarious housing situations.
Can I interject with a
Yeah.
question?
Mhm.
Are you talking about Nights In shelter, or is this another shelter?
So this is more the emergency overnight shelter. So people who are currently unable to access any sort of shelter particularly because the Nights In is not available. We're going to provide an open sleeping situation. There'll be mats on the floor. It's just for safe shelter in the cold weather. And so it's only open, right? There's a few varieties of things. It's -10, but there's wind chill factors and precipitation factors. So it's not open every night. It's open when it meets certain criteria around the weather, so that people can safely be sheltered overnight in those particular conditions.
Oh, okay.
I think last year it was open a couple of dozen times, maybe from December to March, at the most.
And where is this advertised?
It has not been yet because we're still.
No,
working.
where will it be?
Oh, BC Housing, one of the emails was about BC Housing's communication. Last year they did send out communication to the neighborhood, communication to the school. And then it was advertised, I believe, by poster around town, and all of the service providers like Ask Wellness, Canate, NVSS, Interior Health. They will all have information about it on their sites. So like in their physical locations, so people be made aware of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you going to be speaking about what's going on with BC Housing and Nights In?
I don't have any more details. I did see some extra posts go on the ground. So the fence work is happening. At this point, I believe the anticipated opening date remains December 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Reports I've submitted to you is the CAO's, the grant report. So this is a second time you've seen this report this year with some update on the grants we've been actively using, that we've been applying for, and that we anticipate applying for, as well as grants that we have applied for but not received. We spend a great deal of time applying for grants in order to make things happen, especially as it relates to capital work. And, so when people say, well, why don't you apply for grants? We actually apply for dozens of grants every year, for millions of dollars. It's essential because, again, we can't afford 30 or $40 million a year of infrastructure work. We are looking for grants that will reduce that. Typically, we're looking for things to half that, because most grants from the province and the feds, we have to provide a share, which is typically 50% of any project. So millions of dollars that we try to get. And then you have your CPO's report, fire department services report as typical, and your council resolutions report.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
In the grant summary, CAO, can you tell us which grants you're going to be using to fund the ECDEV project?
So we have some grants that have been outstanding for a number of years, that have not been fully expended. And so I'm not sure if that's still on here. I'll have to, yes, so the REDIP grants from Jetty, the GER money.
GER?
GER. Yeah. So you'll see in prepaid grants, there is about $489,000 currently remaining.
And that's what you can use towards this project?
Yes.
Okay, so can you explain to the rest of council exactly what's involved in that proposed plan?
Yeah, and I think we, at some point, I believe I brought it to council. We've been working to repurpose these grants. We had a number of grants that some of them are from pre-2021. So they didn't happen post flood, obviously, because recovery was the priority. So we're kind of focusing on a few things. We're getting an updated community investment profile. We're getting an updated labor market study. So we want a labor market study that says, how many skilled laborers do we have? How many carpenters do we have? How many mechanics do we have? How many accountants do we have? We want that depth, because when we're talking about matching our community to potential industry, we need to know what resources we currently have, both physical resources as well as human resources, right? So we want to, because we want a company that's coming here perhaps to draw in more people, but we also want them to employ people in the community who may not have the jobs that are supporting their families, right? So we have a relatively high unemployment rate. If any of our current industries shut down, we will have, 100, 200 people additionally out of work. So we want to make sure that we're matching the people who live here and the industries that we're trying to bring in. So we're working through those two projects with the idea then that we will have a strategic marketing strategy. So taking all that information, the consultants will then go out and say, okay, this is an emerging industry, or this is an industry that's a good fit for your community. Here's what they need. Here's the physical lands that they need. Here's the people that they need. Here's how you market to them. Here's how you bring them here. So it's kind of a accumulation of a few small projects into this bigger project to support where we're spending the community's time and money to draw industry in, instead of like throwing darts.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah, just throwing darts and hoping we hit somebody, right? We have a new new business coming in. Are there secondary industries that could be developed alongside that new company, right? Some kind of supplier or manufacturing or shipping or whatever the case might be, right? We need to know who those adjacent industries are. And then we're also gonna be working on sort of a placemaking, which, you know, involves Milo the Merritt, but also looking at the visual of the community. You know, what do our signs look like? Where's our wayfinding signage? Where's our interpretive signage? Does it look the same? Is it attractive? Does it show Merritt the way Merritt sees itself? Right? Current, like modern Merritt.
Yeah, and how do we see? How
do we see ourselves?
That's right.
Yeah.
How do we?
Yeah.
Like, do we want to be a green community? Do we want to be a tech community? Do we want to revive forestry? What do we want to do?
Yeah.
How do we want people to view us?
Mhm.
And what kind of community are we offering to prospective people that move here?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot of big work that I think helps us to really channel our efforts instead of just hoping for the best, right? And economic development is a long game. It takes a long time to just gather this data, but to develop a plan and action that plan. And a lot of times my experience in speaking to other people in economic development is that we end up in a position where we're like, I don't really know what the vision is. So I'm just going to do some stuff. Right. And we need to have a vision for this community moving forward next 5, 10, 20 years.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Councilor Charney.
I'm really glad you brought up of matching for jobs, because in that housing report, it mentioned the education of the average person in Merritt, and we're not all doctorates and bachelors. And so, you know, trying to find what Merritt needs is really important. I really appreciated this summary of the grants, of what we've been awarded, what we've spent, and what we've received. I just have a few questions on some of them. I have quite a few, but I'll just ask a couple. So for the Fire Smart community, we were awarded just under 200,000. We received 100,000, yet we spent the whole amount we were awarded. Was that a 50-50?
Civil.
So oftentimes the grant agreements will be that they'll provide a 50% upfront payment. And when we provide a report that says we delivered on everything that they expected us to deliver, they pay us the remaining funds.
Okay, so
we
we're gonna
have
get
delivered
that.
on everything, and we are in progress of finalizing that this week.
Perfect. And then on the active transportation infrastructure, awarded 1.6 million. We received 672, but we spent 1.1 million. And Merritt's supposed to have a cost share of 26.67, but there's a discrepancy there. Is that again, we're going to get money?
So claims have already been submitted, but I haven't received the funds yet.
Okay, so I assume that that's with all of these where we've been awarded amount, we've spent more.
Every grant will have its own clauses in the agreement. So some of them do provide fully upfront payments. Some of them are only reimbursed as we can prove that we've delivered on, and some provide 50% or another percentage upfront. And so it really does depend.
What about the water metering? We were awarded 3 million. We received 3 million, and we spent 19,000. So where's the water metering situation?
So we are in the process of doing the assessment. So we had an RFP go out. We've awarded, they're going to start the assessment process. So really digging into which meters do we have, which meters do we need, do we need full meter replacements, partial meter replacements, resident, you know. So there's a data gathering section. And then once we have that data, we will start having meters installed.
There's also an education.
There's an education component as we move along as well that will happen concurrently.
Okay, perfect. So are any of these grants in danger of being lost because we are not on schedule?
We are, so that's one of the reasons why the economic development work has been moving ahead this year, is because we will lose that grant.
Can we shift them?
No, No, we have to so anytime we change the scope of something, we have to submit to the funder. So for the economic development ones, we had to develop a scope. I've been asked for data, like information multiple times to make sure the scope meets the requirements of the grants, and why some work did or didn't happen previously. So we're at a point now where I think all of our grants are actioned. And if for some reason we can't complete them, we would ask for an extension. And most of the grants, I think we've had very few where we've already had extensions. I think we've already dealt with those ones. The water meter might be the longest outstanding one at this point. Yeah, and it's already started to be actioned.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I guess we'll adjourn ourselves.
Oh, I have one question, sorry. And this is from the CPO report.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Marilyn didn't mention how much money they actually raised at their bowling fundraiser. Do you happen to know how much that was?
No, Marlene didn't mention that, but I will get an email to everybody as soon as we get that information from her. We'll ask
Okay.
her tomorrow.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Now we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sure.